Have you ever met anyone who's just angry at everything? Not just one thing, but literally everything. Every conversation turns negative. They never have anything nice to say. Every situation becomes proof that the world is terrible in one way or another. Every person is either stupid, corrupt, evil, or out to screw them specifically. After a while, you start wondering, how did they get like that? Because nobody starts there. You don't see little kids walking around being angry at everybody. Nobody wakes up one morning, decides they're just going to become a bitter, hateful human being. It all starts with something real. Someone betrays you, someone lies to you, someone you trusted stabs you in the back. Maybe you get cheated in business. Maybe your relationship's falling apart. Maybe someone you loved just simply walked away. And in that moment, a little seed gets planted and it feels justified. You tell yourself you're just protecting yourself. You're just being realistic about people, but you're not careful. And all of a sudden, that little seed starts spreading. Suddenly, you don't just distrust the person who hurt you, you start distrusting everyone. You don't just see the problem where it happened, you start seeing enemies everywhere. And before you realize it, the anger that started as a reaction becomes your identity. Hatred has a way of doing that. It doesn't stay contained. It spreads into your relationships, your work, your outlook, your personality, until one thing, that single thing that you hated, becomes who you are. You can't get away from it. And it's defining you as a person instead of it being a temporary event in your life. Today, we're going to be talking about something very uncomfortable, is what hatred actually does to a person when they let it, and how easily it can corrupt and take over your life from just a little seed. Hello and welcome to Old Man Energy. I'm your host, Flint Anderson. Thank you for joining me today. Today we are talking about, as you heard in the intro, hatred and how quickly it can take over and destroy your life. You see, hatred almost always starts with something legitimate. Something painful happens, something hurts us. Someone betrays our trust, someone cheats us, someone lies to us, something falls apart, someone takes advantage of us. Any number of things that we take personally, it hurts. And the emotion of anger, and anger can change into hatred very quickly, but it's the emotion itself that we feel. But that's not really the problem, because anger is normal, pain is normal, and you're not going to go through life without ever feeling wronged or being angry or feeling pain, emotional pain, in addition to physical pain from things. It's just part of life. Now, a lot of times we tend to look at emotions as negative or positive, and we're not really taught how to deal with the negative emotions. Well, you can't have happiness without sadness. You can't have joy without anger. You wouldn't know the difference if you did. So they're all just emotions. It's how you deal with them that makes them what they are. They're not abnormal. Anger's normal. Pain is normal. Feeling wronged is normal. But the problem starts is when that particular moment, that particular piece that hurts you or person that hurts you starts to become the center of your identity. At that point, you stop processing and feeling the emotions so that you can heal and move past them, and you start feeding it. You've planted this little seed of corruption and pain and hatred and discontent, and now you're feeding it. Now you're looking for reasons to make it grow. And you don't even realize you're doing this consciously a lot, but it starts out as a way to protect ourselves. I don't want to get hurt again, so I'm going to stay angry at that person to make sure that I know for a fact that they can't hurt me anymore. But the problem is that it continues to grow. And instead of learning from it and moving forward with it, we start to replay that over and over again. And every time we replay it, that seed gets a little bigger. Those roots go a little bit deeper. And that corruption infects our soul just a little bit more. And if you're not a faithful person, you don't believe in a soul or whatever, it infects your inner essence. It infects your beings. It infects your thoughts. Anger and hatred left unresolved start to corrupt, absolutely. And eventually it becomes who you are. It becomes your personality. How it grows is one of the most diabolical things I think I've ever done. And this is a difficult topic for me to talk about. I talk about it a lot with people, and I find myself talking about it a lot more lately, because with social media being such an echo chamber, we may hear it starts innocent. It's a progression that happens when something like this starts to take root, and when someone lets it take root. You may hear somebody say something. This is a different way that hatred can be done. And cult leaders use this a lot. But somebody says something that you mostly agree with, but they have a little bit in there that you don't. So you start listening to a little more and a little more. There's that event. And then all of a sudden, well, I agree with them on everything else. Maybe I'm wrong about this one thing that I don't agree about. And it goes slowly, and eventually they end up convincing you one small piece at a time. They let these things take root. They don't try and convince you. They don't tell you you're wrong. They just show you why they're right. And it eventually starts to take over your soul and your heart and then your mind, and you become just this monster that's consumed by ugliness and evil and hatred. So first there's the event, something painful happens. Then we tell ourselves a story about it, everything. This person hurt me. Well, did they do it on purpose? Did they not do it on purpose? We decide what our version of that event, no matter how true or untrue, is, but we always decide on the version of the story that benefits us the most, that paints us in the best light, because nobody's the villain in their own story. Even if you did something to cause this action, I'm not saying you'd cause pain on yourself or anything else, but even if you did, you oftentimes won't picture yourself as the person that did whatever it is to create this situation, because again, nobody's the villain in their own story. And then once we've come up with this story that justifies why we feel the way we feel, our mind keeps playing it over and over again. And this forces us to think about what they did and what you should have said and what we should have said. I should have said this. It would have a better comeback. I could have really put them in their place. Oh man, that would have been great. And they didn't give me the opportunity to do that. So you start finding ways to justify the way you're feeling and to keep feeling the way that you're feeling. And then you start feeling how unfair it was and how you were the one that was wronged and why it was wrong. And then you start to tell other people, and people often will agree with your version of the story that you tell them because they don't know any different, or they're in being polite in conversation, and that just reinforces why you're angry and where that hatred is coming from. And so now it starts to become part of your identity. It's like, yes, getting some reinforcement for this. And everybody else understands that they're mean too, and they were mean to me. And maybe some people share stories, not necessarily true ones, maybe they are true ones, as to either how a similar event happened to them or by the same person or by the same event. Now you're justified even more. And you start seeing yourself as the victim of this story, which starts to become your identity. This is how you start to redefine your identity without even realizing it. After a while, you've told this story long enough and you've looked at the world through this lens of anger and hatred without actually truly dealing with it, just continuing to feed it and let it simmer, that now it's a filter. Now it impacts and affects the way that you see everything in the world. Everything that you see and every interaction you have gets interpreted through this exact same lens. So if one person has betrayed you, maybe they did it on purpose and maybe it was a terrible event. Now suddenly everybody's a liar. Everybody is suspect. Everybody's kept at a distance. Nobody's telling you the truth, because you can't justify in your mind that there are people out there that would tell you the truth, because it starts to impact your identity, which has been created by this seed of hatred and anger that is now growing and starting to consume every piece of your personality. If one relationship ends badly, your ex is a jerk, they treated you mean, they cheated on you, whatever, suddenly all men or women are trash, because you can't look at anybody's face and not see the person that wrongs you and see the person that did that evil to you. If one business deal goes sideways, suddenly everybody's trying to screw you. Everybody's trying to take advantage of you. You don't see any positivity. You don't see any opportunity anymore. You start to only see failure and betrayal, and nothing happens. Hatred doesn't stay pointed at the original person or the original source. When it starts to infect your mind and it starts to grow and it starts to take over your identity, you see it literally everywhere. It spreads like this nasty, when I think about this, I think about just a nasty black ooze that starts to take over inside of my head. And we all do it because we don't want to feel that anger. We don't want to feel that pain. We want it to go away as soon as possible. So we think burying it deep inside and wrapping it in a little bubble of a story that makes us feel okay, we think that's going to be all right. We think that's going to make it go away. We don't have to feel that anymore. And that creates the seed that gets planted for the infection that starts to spread. And once hatred spreads, it starts infecting literally everything else in your life. The way you talk changes. Your conversations all change. Your outlook on the future and the present, that changes. Your personality starts to change. You start to be mean to people who are close to you and near you for no reason. They don't understand why you're changing and why this is doing. And that's one way that you can take anger and hatred from one source and spread it completely to a different source to somebody else that didn't have anything to do with it, just simply through the personality that's changing and you trying to protect yourself as this anger infects you and starts to infect your life with everything that you see. You start assuming everybody has bad motives. Nobody has positive motives. Nothing is good. You expect people to disappoint you, and that reinforces everything because a lot of people do let you down. And we overlook that every day. Or they don't even know they're not supposed to let you down. Maybe they're participating in a scenario in your life that they're not even aware of. And yet they disappoint you because they don't live up to your expectation that you didn't bother to tell them. And that just becomes reinforcement of why you're feeling the way you're feeling. And it starts to grow and it starts to grow. And here's where your personality tips. And this is where a lot of kind people just lose themselves as this nasty virus, for lack of a better, this parasite, whatever you want to call it, takes over, is you start to enjoy seeing others fail. You take joy in others' pain because that just confirms that the world is just as broken as you feel inside. And eventually, you stop seeing individuals at all. All you see is enemies and people that want to hurt you and people that need to be attacked before they can hurt you and before they can attack you. And all of a sudden, that thing that you hated, that reason for your pain has now become the thing that defines you, not only in your own eyes, but in everybody else's eyes too, because you treat them according to how you expect them to treat you. What does that cost you? This costs you literally everything, because hatred doesn't just affect your mood. It destroys things. It destroys businesses. It destroys your relationships. It destroys opportunities because people don't mention things to you because they know that they're going to get shot down at every turn. It destroys trust in people. Have you ever heard that person that constantly thinks that their significant other is cheating? They're always looking for a reason to believe that their significant other is cheating. Oh, well, they're not where they said they were going to be. They're not exactly there. They're not calling me all the time. Well, whenever I look through their phone, I didn't find anything. So that means that they're really good at hiding it. We've all heard these stories and people like this. This is somebody who's so consumed by anger and hatred that they can't see past that. And they end up destroying everything close to them. And often good people end up getting hurt in these relationships through no fault of their own, because the expectation from the other person is that they should be feeling guilty for what that person, the angry party, thinks that they were doing. And they don't feel guilty because they weren't doing anything wrong in the first place. And when you're that consumed by anger and hatred, even that starts to look like justification. Oh, well, that must be what's wrong because there's no reaction. Or if the person who didn't do anything starts to react in anger because, okay, well, you obviously don't trust me, that again becomes a reason to reinforce that anger and that hatred and that distrust. It destroys trust in every way. And in close relationships, this can end marriages, this can break families. And yes, this can start with something so small and innocuous that if you would just deal with the anger and the frustration and the hatred on the front side, then none of this would happen. If you just feel the way that you feel. People can always feel when someone's carrying bitterness in their heart. Whenever they're carrying anger and they don't have to say it, it just comes out of them. It's their energy, which is the way we refer to this now. But you can tell when they walk in a room. It just comes down. You can feel the tension go up. Oh man, people are walking on eggshells around them. Well, why? Well, because they're just mean and they're angry all the time. And it comes out in how they talk and how they react to how other people are talking and how they see the world. The way that they describe the world is a dark and dangerous place. You cannot build anything meaningful if all of your emotional energy is spent fighting ghosts. And that's exactly what you're doing. You're chasing ghosts. You're constantly looking for that negative thing, that you're looking for the catch. You're waiting for the other shoe to fall. You can put whatever metaphor you want on it. But if you're so consumed, it's emotionally exhausting to be waiting constantly for something bad to happen. You cannot build anything if you spend your emotional energy fighting ghosts. If you have kids or people looking up to you, and you were one way and now you're suddenly becoming a different way, and this doesn't take months and months. This happens in days and sometimes weeks. They see it too. And your kids, they start to wonder what happened, and they start to ask themselves, well, is this me or your spouse or maybe the people that you lead at work or your people in your business? It starts to poison literally everything that you touch and everything that you interact with. If you walk around angry at the world, you are teaching everyone associated with you that the world is something to hate. And as a result, your children who are malleable start to hate things too. They start to see ghosts that aren't there. Now they don't even know what they're angry or afraid of, but they know they should be because they're looking up to mom or dad, and mom or dad is the one that's showing them this. And you may say to yourself, well, I don't treat my children that way, but it's in every single thing that you do. And here's the truth that nobody likes. Holding on to this anger and this hatred and letting it grow and finding ways to justify it and ways to make it happen more and over again. It feels so powerful for a while. It feels absolutely justified. It feels righteous until it doesn't. Because the truth is this is just incredibly lazy and it's very cowardice. Hatred gives you a permanent excuse to stop growing and start doing anything important in your life. As long as you're angry about what someone else did to you, you never have to deal with the healing. You never have to deal with moving forward. You never have to deal with becoming something better. You can just stay stuck in that same moment forever. You allow that person who probably doesn't even know for sure what they did after a little while to have absolute and total control over you, and you use it to justify every failure in your life. And every time someone calls you on it, you react with anger, and it's just more proof that they don't know what they're talking about and that they're trying to hurt you. And that's all you see over and over again. It's very lazy because you no longer have to try. Now everything is literally everybody else's fault in your eyes. You take no accountability or blame for anything. Everything is just happening to you because you wouldn't face that one small, hard thing. And now you've built this entire empire inside your brain based on a lie oftentimes, and maybe based on some truth. Initially, you were hurt by something, but the growth and what it turned into is way larger than anything. You just stay stuck in that same moment forever. What do you do about this? And I'm going to encourage you before we go on to the next section. I'm going to encourage you to think about a time, think about something you're dealing with that you're angry about. Maybe it's something from the past that you don't understand why it happened. Maybe you don't even know who you're mad at. You're just mad about something. I know lately I've been living in a state of frustration, and that's led to a state of anger on my part, because sometimes it feels like nothing you're doing is working. Well, you just can't always see what you're doing, or you can only see the negative and you can't see what actually is working, which is more often the case. And in my case, that's really been where it has, which was the point of this episode. I didn't really have anybody wrong me, just circumstances, just going through a season of life. It's been challenging here lately. I mean, work has been challenging, and not everybody's doing what we want them to do. And I just didn't understand it. So it seemed like I was just mad all the time. Well, I just wasn't really mad. I was frustrated. I wasn't dealing with the frustration effectively. Sometimes you can fix the situation that you're in, and sometimes you can't. But I want you to think to some hurt, some anger, some frustration that you didn't deal with in the past, and yet you allowed it to grow, and all of a sudden you started snapping at people and biting people's heads off, and you're like, man, what am I doing? Who am I? Am I this person? I used to be such a nice guy. Whatever it is, think about that. Take a moment and really go back and feel that and see if you can figure out where that came from. Go back to when it started. See if you can figure out what it was that you didn't deal with, or what it was that you thought that was the right way to deal with. If it's still affecting you, go ahead and dress and feel the way you're feeling. See if that helps. Because letting it go is not weakness. Letting go of hatred does not mean that what happened to you is okay. It doesn't mean the other person was right. And it doesn't mean that you forgot what happened. And it definitely doesn't mean that you ever let them or anyone else do that to you again. You can forgive someone and still set boundaries. You can move forward and still remember the lesson. What this really means is that you refuse to let someone else's behavior control who you are and who you become. You should never allow that level of control to anyone. Sometimes your circumstances are going to suck. Sometimes people are going to wrong you. Sometimes you're going to be angry about it. But that doesn't mean you have to let them control you long term. Maybe you reacted badly to it in the first place. Okay, fine. You can always start, pick it up, and move on. Go do what you need to do. Always. There's never a reason that you can't do that. But do not allow other people to have this level of control over you. Let go of it. Forgive them. Forgive yourself. Whatever you need to do mentally to not carry this bitterness and this anger with you, because it does not serve you. You don't have to open yourself up to be hurt by them, but you also don't have to carry the anger and bitterness to make sure that doesn't happen. You can remember it without the emotion. You have a choice. And at some point, everyone faces this choice in one way or another, whether it's work, whether it's home, whether it's personally. How about this? I've let myself down a lot over the years. And when you let yourself down, you can't see the good that you've done. You can only focus on the things the promises that you made to yourself and you kept breaking. And this hurts more than just about anything else that I can think of. Yeah, there's betrayal and what have you. But when you betray yourself and you let yourself down, it's real easy to get angry and frustrated and mad and pissed off. And you start feeling, that's the thing. You think by doing that, you're taking control, and you actually feel more out of control than ever. Because at some point you face a choice. You can carry that anger and that hatred and that ugly cancer inside of you. You can replay that story in your head forever and make yourself the hero who dies on Mount Victim. And you can turn that moment into your identity, and you can allow it to infect every relationship and everything around you. Nothing will ever get better because you died on that hill. You slew yourself and became the permanent victim of whatever it was that made you angry. Or you can process it. You can face it. You can admit it, acknowledge it, own it, whatever you have to do, whatever you call it. You can learn from it, and you can move forward. You can build better boundaries that protect you from allowing that to happen in a healthy way without anger. You can move forward with your life because those boundaries stay with you, but they allow you to move and grow, and they protect you as you're doing it. And you can make this just a learning experience and just a speed bump. And oftentimes, if you process it and deal with it, the only thing left after a month or two is just the boundary. You don't even remember why that boundary's there, but you know it protects you. It no longer consumes you, and it did not become your personality. It did not become everything that you are. One of these paths keeps you trapped in the past and a perpetual victim. The other allows you to build a future, and every time something like this happens, you get safer because your boundaries get more defined and stronger, period. You get to choose which path you want to follow. Before we wrap this up, I want you to think about something, and I want you to take a minute, and I want you to process it. Every person out there listening to this has been hurt by someone. You've been lied to, you've been betrayed, you've been disappointed. There's any number of other things, but all of this is part of being human. The danger is not the pain. The danger is in what you decide to do with it. Hatred will offer you something that feels powerful in the moment, and nothing is more desirable when you've been hurt than taking back your power as quickly as possible. It will tell you that it's protecting you, and it will tell you that it's making you stronger. And for a time, it will tell you that staying angry keeps you from being hurt again. And you know what? It will, for a short period of time. But what it's actually doing is, while it's giving you this false sense of empowerment and protection, it's turning you into somebody that you probably never would have become otherwise, and absolutely didn't intend to become. You become somebody who doesn't trust anyone. You become someone who assumes the worst about everyone. You become someone who sees enemies in literally every corner. You see ghosts, you see enemies. No one is a friend. You can't trust anyone. And the worst part about this is that the person who hurt you probably moved on a long time ago and didn't even realize it, because instead of saying something to them, you chose to internalize it and allow it to corrupt you. They're not thinking about it anymore. But if you hold on to that hatred, they still control a major part of your life that gets bigger every single day. So the real question isn't whether someone wronged you. The real question is this: are you going to let that moment poison you for the rest of your life, or are you going to decide that it stops with you and you're going to face whatever hurt was there, establish your boundary, and move on? You don't have to pretend it's not important. You don't have to pretend it didn't matter. And here's the thing: if it doesn't matter to the person that did it to you, because sometimes you bring it up to them in an attempt to resolve it, it can still be a big deal to you, and that's okay. But you don't get to choose what that person does in response to how they hurt you. You don't get to pick that. You can't control people outside of you. But you do get to choose who you become after it. You get to choose how you respond to it, and you get to choose how you deal with it. This is where your real strength shows up. This is where you use this to grow and move forward and become a stronger and a more resilient person. I wanted to leave you with this today, and I know that this is a short one. So hatred will change who you are. The only question is whether you let it make you bitter or whether you let it make you strong. I hope you guys picked up something from today. If you want more content like this, and usually it's not quite this heavy, I'm a little more positive going forward, then like and subscribe. Got some cool stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks. I've got a couple of OME Accelerator episodes that are going to be dropping randomly. And we have a new project that's coming up that I think you guys are going to want to pay attention to. It's going to allow you guys to take advantage of several of the things we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks, plus with a lot of the turmoil going on right now. It's going to allow you to establish some flexibility or some stability in your life. Reach out to me, like, follow, subscribe, do all the things. Love y'all.